YNR spoilers reveal the drama before Jordan's appearance in Cole's hospital room, causing him to panic. The feeling that time is running out has forced Cole to face the truth that he has been hiding for so long, not only because of the fear of facing the past, but also because he does not want Claire, the girl he has always considered his own flesh and blood, to go through any more pain. However, reality is too cruel. Illness does not allow Cole to delay any longer, and he knows that Kyle, the boy he has gradually considered a son-in-law, is the only one who deserves to hear the whole truth before everything is buried forever under the ashes of lies. A sudden nightmare came that no one could have predicted. The heavy wooden door opened slightly with a cold sound echoing throughout the hallway, signaling the appearance of an uninvited guest, Jordan. Her cold eyes scanned every corner, as if assessing, examining, and also implicitly warning of an impending storm. For those who knew Jordan, this return was not simply a visit, but a sign of great events, new tragedies that were silently hidden under the peaceful shell. Cole could not believe his eyes when he saw Jordan standing there, like a ghost in the memory that he thought had disappeared forever from his life. Memories of the fierce confrontations, the deep conspiracies that Jordan had once sown on the Newman family suddenly flooded into Cole's mind, causing him to fall into a state of true panic. Her presence not only broke the safe shell that Cole had tried so hard to build, but also brought back the fears, insecurities, and even the guilt that he had always kept hidden deep inside. He felt like the whole world around him was about to collapse in an instant, and he was being dragged into a deadly game whose only rule was that there were no limits. Jordan did not appear as an ex-lover returning to seek forgiveness or make amends, but rather carried the cold, calculating aura of someone thirsting for revenge. Years of hiding and gnawing at her hatred of the Newman family had made her dangerous, ruthless, and willing to do anything to achieve her goals. This time, Jordan returned with a single goal: to overthrow Victor Newman, the man she considered the source of all the tragedy in her life, and give him what she considered justice. But to do that, she needs a card in her hand, and the one she chooses is none other than Cole. With a cold and frightening tone, Jordan gives Cole an ultimatum: either he must become a spy, providing her with all the confidential information about Victor as well as the activities of the Newman Corporation, or she will not hesitate to push him and those he loves into the abyss of despair. Cole is put in a dead end. His own safety, the future of Claire, the girl he loves the most, and the honor of the entire Newman family are completely in the hands of a woman he has no ability to control. Cole's panic grows as he feels the danger in Jordan's eyes and every gesture. The painful memories of the past when Jordan had threatened and harmed many family members once again revive, weighing heavily on his already tired heart. He understood her cruelty, understood that all promises were lies and any resistance could lead to disaster. But Cole also knew that if he followed Jordan's orders, he would become a traitor, putting Victor in danger and destroying the honor and self-respect he had tried so hard to maintain. That struggle caused Cole to fall into a state of extreme stress. At night, nightmares kept him awake, cold sweat poured out, every second and minute passed in fear of being discovered, worrying about his future and his loved ones. Especially when thinking about Claire, Cole's heart ached. He knew that Jordan's appearance was a sign of new disasters, and Claire was the one who could suffer the most painful consequences. Meanwhile, in a corner of the villa, Claire was completely unaware of the plot that Jordan was plotting against Cole. But just seeing Jordan, all the horrible memories of the past arose, making her almost crazy. Claire screamed in panic, fear spreading throughout her body like a poisonous fever. She was not only afraid for herself but also afraid for her father, the one who had stood up to protect her many times from the dangers that Jordan had caused. In Claire's mind, Jordan was no different from the embodiment of evil, a terrifying obsession that she had tried to forget but could not. Claire's panicked screams echoed throughout the mansion, making the already heavy atmosphere even more suffocating and extremely tense. Each of Jordan's steps seemed to drain the life from Claire's eyes, making her helpless, desperate, and just wanting to run away from that nightmare. She felt that everything was slipping out of control, that at any moment Jordan could destroy everything, just like what she had done in the past. Cole sat quietly by the window, the afternoon wind carrying the scent of early summer days, his eyes following the silhouettes of Claire and Kyle chatting in the garden in the distance. In his heart, the storm of secrets was still rolling, and he knew that the time to tell it all had come. Keeping silent for so long was originally out of love and protection for Claire, but Cole understood that the sometimes cruel truth was the only thing that could help her grow up, even though it would leave wounds that would never fully heal. Kyle was intelligent and sharp, but also very sensitive and vulnerable when it came to the people he loved. Entrusted by Cole with a shocking secret, Kyle was stunned, the surprise etched on his face when he heard Cole confess that Claire was not actually his biological daughter. That truth, in itself, was a big enough shock, but when Cole continued to reveal the true identity of Claire's parents, everything seemed to explode. Claire, who had always thought of herself as Victor's niece, was actually Victor's biological daughter with Jordan, a woman who was full of mystery and always out of Newman's control. A shocking truth that can turn upside down everything Kyle once believed about the girl he loves. The question is, can Kyle believe this? Does he have the courage to face and accept a Claire with a completely different background? No longer a girl with an ordinary background but the result of a tragic love affair between Victor and Jordan, the most powerful and complicated figures in Genoa City? In Kyle's mind, a series of images of the past, of happy days and promises with Claire suddenly become vague. He cannot help but wonder, is the love he has for Claire strong enough to overcome the shock of his background and the traps that await him? Just as the shocking news has not yet subsided, a new series of storms begin to arise. Diane Jenkins, the mother who always protects Kyle at all costs, appears at the most important moment. Diane was always wary of Victor Newman's every move. She understood that anyone involved with Victor was not simple, and his schemes often came with bigger consequences than imagined. Diane quickly realized that Victor was not only manipulating Claire, but also preparing to turn Audra Charles into a strategic weapon against Kyle, in order to push him into a confrontation with the most dangerous and unpredictable opponent. Diane herself had never trusted Audra, especially when she knew that she had been hired by Victor and intended to infiltrate deep into Kyle's internal affairs as well as the Vibrante company. Behind that beautiful, intelligent and sharp face, Audra hid a series of schemes, and Victor did not hesitate to use anyone to achieve his goals. This made Diane even more wary. She decided to get involved, by all means protecting her son from the underground forces that Victor was secretly spreading. Meanwhile, Kyle was still shocked by what Cole had just revealed. Claire's concerns about her status are compounded by the pressures of fierce competition in the marketplace. Kyle hears a rumor that Audra is in possession of a miracle product at Vibrante that could pose a direct threat to his job and personal reputation. Unable to sit still, Kyle decides to approach Audra, knowing that every step is fraught with danger. His goal is to find out if Audra is really lying, and more importantly, if she intends to overthrow or replace him at Vibrante under Victor's direction. The tension between Kyle and Audra goes beyond professional rivalry. It's a generational war, between the young who are eager to prove themselves and the older ones who are skilled at manipulating everything. Audra is no pushover, using every trick in the book to hide her true intentions, while testing Kyle's loyalty to Claire and Diane. Every encounter between Kyle and Audra is like a game of chess, where one wrong move can cause everything to collapse in the blink of an eye. Diane, with all the courage of an experienced woman, is determined not to let Victor or Audra dominate her son. She uses all her relationships and resources to protect Kyle, and at the same time finds a way to break the alliance between Victor and Audra before it can harm the people she loves. Every action of Diane exudes strength and determination, but also has a lot of understanding and sympathy for Claire's pain, the girl who accidentally became a victim of the plots of adults. The story of Kyle, Claire, Cole, Diane, Audra, and Victor Newman is like a multicolored picture, where each character must face the choice between truth and lies, between love and power, between forgiveness and hatred. Life does not give them the right to make perfect choices, but it is the way they face the challenge that will determine the future of all. Can Kyle and Claire overcome all the storms to keep their love? Will Diane be strong enough to protect her son from Victor and Audra's power? And will the truth finally bring freedom, or only open up new pain for all? In the twilight, Cole closes the last secrets of his life, leaving those who remain not only the truth, but also a lesson in love, tolerance, and the strength to overcome adversity. And in another corner of Genoa City, new conspiracies begin to brew, preparing for the next cycle of power, passion, and tears. The atmosphere in Genoa City seems calm, but in fact, there are fierce undercurrents waiting to erupt, especially in the complicated relationship between Kyle, Claire, and Diane. Just when everything seems to have stabilized, cracks quietly appear, threatening to destroy the fragile balance that the Abbott family has just built after many storms. Diane Jenkins never stops worrying about her son. She understands Kyle better than anyone, feels the conflict and ambition tearing at his soul. Kyle's bond with Claire is what makes Diane most at ease, because for the first time in many years, she feels the light of true happiness in her son's eyes. However, that happiness is always fragile, when Kyle still cannot escape the calculations, pressure of work and the desire to assert himself in the cold business world. The peaceful days with Claire help Kyle calm down, but also when he gradually realizes that his ambition and responsibility are greater than what Claire can share. In the meantime, Audra Charles appears like a strange wind, bringing with her own plots and plans that Victor Newman himself is behind, to separate Kyle and Claire, and at the same time test the mettle of both. Kyle is a decisive person, not easily backing down from anyone or anything. His ambition and intelligence make him unable to bear being manipulated or hindered in his advancement. But because of that, Audra's intervention, even if only hinted, makes Kyle become wary, even thinking of confrontation. He outlines a plan to control the situation, secretly monitoring and finding ways to break Audra's initiative, despite the potential risks. However, Kyle's determination and sometimes stubbornness are met with fierce opposition from Claire. She always wanted a peaceful life, not caught up in power games or hatred. When she realized that Kyle was planning to deal with Audra, Claire couldn't help but worry about him. Not only because of the lurking danger but also because she was afraid of losing the purity and sincerity in the love that they had built together. For Claire, a relationship based on trust and sharing is a solid foundation to overcome storms, not endless plots and confrontations. The two soon got into a heated argument. Claire, with all her love and trust for Kyle, tried to convince him to stop, not to let himself get caught up in Audra's plots, and not to let himself become the one who brings pain to those around him. But Kyle, in his passion for power and desire to protect his position, did not want to back down. He would rather choose to carry out his plan behind Claire's back than give up the goal in front of him. That disagreement gradually caused the distance between the two to grow, pushing the relationship to the brink of danger that neither of them wanted. Diane, with the sharp intuition of an experienced mother, soon realized the tension in Kyle and Claire's relationship. The alarm bells in Diane's mind rang louder and louder. She knew that once Kyle was determined, it would be difficult to change his mind, but Diane also understood that wrong choices could destroy everything. From personal happiness to career, and even the relationship with family. Before Diane's eyes was the prospect of once again witnessing her son lose everything because of impulsive decisions, and she could not stand by and watch. Motherly love made Diane willing to do anything to protect Kyle. She followed Audra's every move, carefully observed the smallest expressions of Claire and Kyle to intervene in time when things got out of control. The courage and experience of a woman who has experienced many storms helped Diane not be easily fooled by Audra's calm and confident appearance. She realizes that behind that overconfidence is a series of calculations and plots that Audra believes will control everything. But Diane is not someone who can be easily manipulated. On the contrary, she is ready to prepare for the boldest moves, just to protect her son from the dangerous traps that Victor and Audra have set. Meanwhile, Audra Charles still believes that she is in control. She believes in Victor Newman's support, believes that every plan has been carefully calculated. Audra is confident that she can separate Kyle and Claire with sophisticated tricks and charm, and at the same time create chaos within the Abbott family to benefit Victor's schemes. However, life never follows a perfect script, and Audra soon realizes that she has underestimated the power of family affection, Kyle's steadfastness, and Diane's bravery. The storm grew stronger as the forces began to collide. Claire, despite her heartache over Kyle's stubbornness, still couldn't leave him. Deep in her heart, she understood that conflicts and arguments were just temporary challenges. As long as they kept their faith and looked towards each other, all storms could be overcome. Claire took the initiative to find a way to resolve the conflict, not avoiding but facing Kyle directly, hoping that love was big enough to pull him out of the vortex of cold plots. As for Kyle, although he always appeared strong and tough on the outside, deep down he couldn't help but feel torn. He understood that if he continued to carry out his plan without consulting Claire, the risk of losing her was entirely possible. Memories of past brokenness, of the times he had to pay a high price for his stubbornness, suddenly flooded back, making Kyle feel uneasy and tormented. However, the pride of a seasoned man makes it impossible for him to admit his mistakes, and even more so, he does not want to show his weakness in front of anyone, including Claire. Diane, in her role as mother and protector, it is time to take drastic action. She is no longer the weak woman of the past, but a strong, wise Diane, willing to use any means to protect her son's happiness. She secretly collects information, finds ways to neutralize Audra's plots, and at the same time creates situations that force Kyle and Claire to sit down together, talk and resolve conflicts. Diane knows that only when the two truly trust and understand each other, can their love stand firm against any force. Audra herself, who is confident and sharp, also begins to feel the unexpected chaos. The tricks she uses on Kyle seem to be less effective than before, sometimes even counterproductive when Diane suddenly appears and turns the situation around. Audra gradually realized that she could not control everything as she thought, especially when facing an experienced and cunning woman like Diane Jenkins. The relationship between Kyle and Claire was pushed to the peak of the challenge. Diane's intervention, although risky, was also the motivation for both of them to look back at themselves, look back at the feelings they had and evaluate what was the most important thing they needed to preserve. Sometimes, Claire shed tears of helplessness and fatigue, but then it was her deep love for Kyle that helped her overcome everything. She believed that as long as the two of them were together, no matter how many tricks Audra or Victor used, they could still overcome all the storms. As for Kyle, after many internal struggles, he finally realized the true value of love and sharing. He took the initiative to talk to Claire, admitted all the plans he had made and expressed his fear of losing her. The two had a deep heart-to-heart talk, looking back at the past, the present, and looking forward to the future with new, stronger faith than ever. Diane, witnessing her son's happiness gradually recovering, could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. She knew that the road ahead was full of thorns. Audra and Victor would not give up easily, but she also believed in the power of family and true love. That is the most powerful weapon to fight against all conspiracies, power, and betrayal. In Genoa City, every day that passes is filled with countless surprises, but no matter what, love, faith, and resilience are always the flames that never go out in the hearts of those who know how to appreciate the true values of life. The relationship between Kyle and Claire, under Diane's strong protection, continues to write new chapters full of challenges but also full of hope, just like the way those young people have been and are fighting for their happiness in a world full of intrigue and traps.